Everybody loves NBA trade rumor season. And what they love more than trade rumor season is the actual NBA offseason. In fact, I think the NBA is more lit during the offseason than the actual season. But beyond that, let's be clear. The Brooklyn Nets do not and should not trade for James Harden. That is what you would call excess. As much as, we are accustomed in these NBA days to teams stacking the deck, trying to get as much elite talent on the roster in order to win a championship, sometimes you have to also take into account that the parts have to fit. When I look at Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, I'm not sure it's a clean enough fit to win the championship. Now, I'm not going to be one of these foolish people and question the basketball acumen of specifically Kyrie Irving and James Harden and say they'll just be dribbling and dribbling and dribbling. I saw that viral 2K video where they'll just dribble, and then take a shot in isolation. I don't anticipate that. But the bigger issue involving these players is about rhythm. Both players are rhythm ball handlers who can play within the structure of an offense, but they also need a certain amount of touches to get within their rhythm. When you factor in Kevin Durant into that equation, it is going to be difficult for all three players to be in unison with said rhythm. Now you're going to bring up Golden State. As much as people love to use Golden State as the beacon for super teams, right? You have to understand that there are three parts to that super team equation that you have to factor in. Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time. Klay Thompson, second greatest shooter of all time. Kevin Durant, maybe top 7 greatest shooter of all time. That changes the dynamic because although they all can shoot the ball well in Brooklyn, let's say that trade was to hypothetically happen, the difference between both equations is there's one guy on Golden State who does not need to dribble to average 20, whereas you have two players in the Brooklyn equation who would need a certain amount of dribbles and touches to get their 20 plus. That's what made Golden State special. Kevin Durant didn't need to dribble much to score. Klay Thompson damn near didn't need to dribble at all to score. And then you had Steph, who when he had his turn, could get off and do his thing. So people were able to find their rhythms and get enough touches and play with enough pace to put up the numbers that they put up. I just don't think that it makes sense for the Brooklyn people involved, to make that trade and then kind of stifle what they're building up. Now, I understand the Brooklyn Nets probably have the best collection of assets to get a superstar of any team in the league right now. Hands down. But to me, you have to move smart if you're going to trade. Like, I'm not the biggest Paul George fan. But if you're telling me Paul George as the third option next to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I love that if you're going to make a trade. But James Harden, I don't know. And let's be clear. Let's stop being disrespectful to Kyrie's basketball acumen. A lot of you dorks on the internet love to feel like Kyrie can't do this or Kyrie can't do that. Kyrie is a champion, and he played a humongous role in winning that championship. So you have to stop discrediting players who have done it at the NBA's highest level, because that shows you that they know what to do. They know what it takes to win a championship. So the foolery that you dorks on the internet continue to push, it needs to stop. It's not about dribbling. It's not about selfishness. It's about actual basketball, which a lot of you dorks don't know how to discuss. So once again, when it comes to rhythm, Brooklyn traded for Harden doesn't do them any favors. I think Harden should go somewhere like Miami. You're telling me with the Miami Heat culture, Jimmy Butler in there, James Harden, and the rest of the supporting cast? Listen, Miami's live again. The Milwaukee Bucks need to get on the phone if they want to keep Giannis and figure out a way to get Harden to Milwaukee. Hell, the New York Knicks have a decent collection of assets. They need to get on the phone as well, as opposed to continuously being Bozo Nation and the Broadway Bozos on 33rd and 7th. Okay? If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, as soon as Paul George legitimately becomes available, you get on the phone, you get the package, and you get that man to Brooklyn. Because, again, Paul George, a lot of you dorks overrate him as a superstar and as this type of a player. But if you're telling me Paul George as the third option on a championship team, I think that's his perfect role. Because now the expectations are lower, so when he falls short, we're not worrying about playoff P. He'd be third option P. Kyrie and KD could carry the load. And on that random night where they're falling short, then Paul George as a third option can show up. He can still defend. He can shoot the three. He is a catch-and-shoot player. And on a given night, he can still give you 20 because you know what? They're going to be playing with a similar pace to Golden State, so there'll be enough touches to go around. And another guy like Paul George, who doesn't need to dribble much to score, that is the player I think the Brooklyn Nets should target. But as always, my opinions are my own. Peace and love.